The huge room was bigger than most cities. Purple lights glowed from the walls, and the air smelled like ozone and fear. 12 different alien races sat around a table that could have held 1,000 people. Each chair was made for a different kind of body. Some aliens had forearms, others had tentacles, and a few looked like walking crystals. Ambassador Zektar stood up from his chair. He was tall, maybe 9 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms that moved like snakes. His people, the Fourthens, had ruled 3 star systems for over 2,000 years. Today he was angry. "The humans have crossed the line," he said. His voice was deep and scary, like rocks falling down a mountain. "They took the Kepler system. They built colonies on our worlds. They ignored our warnings." The other aliens nodded. General Vordash of the Crimson Fleet hit the table with his metal fist. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. His race looked like giant red crabs, and they were known for their love of war. "The humans think they can do whatever they want," Vordash said. "They spread like a disease. Planet after planet, system after system. Someone needs to stop them." Ambassador Silnara spoke next. She was from the Crystal Collective, a race that looked like walking diamonds. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "Our scouts report human ships everywhere. They mine our asteroids. They study our planets. They act like they own the galaxy." The meeting went on for hours. Each alien leader told stories about human actions. The humans had built a trading post near Vorthen space. They had sent explorers to systems that other races claimed. They had even started farming on a planet that the Zephyrians said was holy. But the worst part was how the humans acted when other races complained. They just smiled and said they would look into it. Then nothing happened. The humans kept doing whatever they wanted. "We have sent them messages," said Commander Thixel of the Hive Mind. He looked like a giant ant made of metal. "We told them to stop. They said thank you for the message and that they would get back to us. That was 6 months ago." The aliens all agreed. The humans were too bold, too confident, too human. Something had to be done. After more talking, they voted. It was not close. All 12 races agreed. They would declare war on the human species. They would make the humans pay for their disrespect. They would show the galaxy that no one could ignore the Galactic Council. Ambassador Zektar prepared the message. His fingers typed on a keyboard made of light. The words appeared in the air, glowing and official. The declaration was simple and clear. The Galactic Council hereby declared war on humanity. The humans had 7 days to surrender all their colonies and return to their home system. If they did not, the combined fleets of 12 civilizations would make them. The message was sent across the galaxy. Every human colony, every human ship, every human world would receive it. The aliens waited for the panic to begin. On Earth, it was a Tuesday morning in Chicago. Jake Martinez sat in his office on the 42nd floor of a glass building. He worked for Morrison Logistics, a company that moved supplies to human colonies in space. His job was boring, but important. He made sure that people on distant worlds had food, water, and toilet paper. Jake was drinking coffee and reading reports when his assistant knocked on his door. Lisa Chen was young and smart, fresh out of college. She always looked worried about something. "Sir, you need to see this," she said. She handed him a tablet. The screen showed an official message with lots of alien symbols and a translation in English. Jake read it while sipping his coffee. The Galactic Council declared war on humanity. They demanded surrender in 7 days. They threatened to destroy all human colonies if humans did not obey. Jake looked at the message for about 10 seconds. Then he set the tablet down and picked up his coffee again. "Interesting," he said. "Can you forward this to the State Department? They handle this kind of thing." Lisa stared at him. "Sir, they declared war on us. The entire Galactic Council. 12 alien civilizations." Jake nodded. "Yeah, I saw that. Make sure you mark it as priority mail. And can you reschedule my 2 o'clock meeting? I need to call my daughter's school about the parent-teacher conference." Lisa took the tablet back, still looking confused. She had expected her boss to panic, to call the military, to do something dramatic. Instead, he went back to reading supply reports like nothing had happened. The same thing was happening all over Earth. In London, diplomat Charles Brown received the declaration while eating lunch. He read it, filed it in his desk drawer, and went back to planning his weekend fishing trip. In New York, General Patricia Williams got the message during a meeting about military budgets. She glanced at it, nodded once, and asked her aide to add it to next week's agenda. On the moon, Captain Roy Davis was running a deep space monitoring station. His job was to watch for alien ships and unusual activity. When the war declaration arrived, he saved it to his computer and went back to watching old movies. The pattern was the same everywhere. Humans received the message, acknowledged it, and filed it through proper channels. No one panicked. No one called for emergency meetings. No one even seemed very interested. The aliens watched human communications, waiting for signs of fear. They expected to see military fleets moving, governments meeting in crisis sessions, and people fleeing to underground bunkers. Instead, they saw humans going to work, watching television and complaining about traffic. 3 hours after the declaration was sent, Earth's official response arrived. It was short and polite. The human government acknowledged receipt of the Galactic Council's message. They thanked the aliens for their communication and said they would respond through proper diplomatic channels within standard timeframes. Ambassador Zektar read the message 3 times. He could not believe it. The humans had just been threatened with total destruction by the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Their response was to say thank you, and that they would get back to the aliens later. "Do they understand what we told them?" he asked his aide. "Perhaps their translation software is broken," the aide suggested. But deep in space, human cargo ships continued their routes. Human colonies kept building new cities. Human explorers kept mapping new systems. It was like the war declaration had never been sent at all. The Galactic Council had expected many things from humanity. They had expected fear, surrender, or desperate attempts to negotiate. They had not expected to be treated like junk mail. 3 weeks passed since the Galactic Council declared war on humanity. The aliens waited for something to happen. They watched human communications. They studied human news broadcasts. They monitored human military channels. What they found made no sense at all. Ambassador Zektar paced around his private chamber like a caged animal. His forearms moved in angry gestures as he spoke to his aide, a nervous creature named Irisith who looked like a purple bird with too many eyes. "Where is their response?" Zektar demanded. "We gave them 7 days. It has been 21 days. Do they think this is some kind of joke?" Irisith checked his datapad for the 100th time that day. "Sir, we received one message from their State Department. It said their response is still under review by the appropriate committees." "Committees?" Zektar's voice rose to a shriek. "We threatened to destroy their entire species and they sent it to a committee?" The aide nodded sadly. "The message also said they would respond within standard diplomatic timeframes. It gave us a reference number to track our request." Zektar grabbed the datapad and threw it against the wall. It bounced off and landed on his bed, still working perfectly. "We are the combined might of 12 civilizations. We have conquered entire star systems. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. And they gave us a reference number?" General Vordash was having similar problems on his flagship. The giant red crab alien stood in his command center, watching reports from his scouts. His metal claws clicked against the floor as he walked. "What do you mean they are not mobilizing?" he asked his intelligence officer, a small gray alien with big black eyes. "Sir, human military activity is normal," the officer reported. "No fleets moving toward their borders, no emergency production of weapons, no evacuation of civilian populations. It appears they are ignoring us completely." Vordash could not believe it. When his people declared war, enemy worlds went dark within hours. Cities emptied. Armies gathered. Space filled with warships preparing for battle. But the humans were acting like nothing had happened. "Maybe they are planning something secret," he suggested. "A surprise attack. A hidden weapon." The intelligence officer shook his head. "Sir, we have been monitoring their communications for weeks. Their military leaders are discussing budget reports and training schedules. Their news shows are talking about sports and weather. Their governments are debating tax policies. On the Crystal Collective's main ship, Ambassador Silnara was having her own crisis. Her crystalline form flickered with confused colors as she tried to understand human behavior. "Show me their reaction again," she told her assistant. The hologram displayed Earth's major cities. People walked to work. Children played in parks. Traffic moved normally through busy streets. It looked exactly like it had 3 weeks ago before the war declaration. "Are we certain they received our message?" Silnara asked. "Yes, Ambassador. We have confirmation of delivery to every human world, every human ship, and every human colony. The message was translated into all human languages. There is no way they could have missed it." Silnara's colors shifted to deep purple, which meant confusion in her people. Then why are they not responding? Meanwhile, on Earth, the war declaration was making its way through the human bureaucracy like a slow-moving river. It had started at the State Department, which had sent it to the Department of Defense. The Defense Department had forwarded it to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The Joint Chiefs had scheduled it for discussion at their monthly meeting, which was still 2 weeks away. In a small office in Washington, D.C., clerk Danny Wilson was processing paperwork. He was 24 years old, had been working for the government for 6 months, and was already tired of his job. The war declaration sat in his inbox, marked as low priority. Danny read the document while eating a sandwich. 12 alien civilizations wanted humanity to surrender or face destruction. He checked the proper forms, made sure all the signatures were in place, and stamped it with his approval. Then he sent it to the next office in line. "Another one," he muttered to his co-worker, Janet Adams. She was older, maybe 50, and had been handling alien communications for 15 years. "Another what?" Janet asked without looking up from her computer. "War declaration, some Galactic Council thing. 12 species this time." Janet nodded. "That's a big one. Most of them only have 3 or 4 species. Did you mark it as a coalition? Conflict?" Danny checked his form. "Yeah, I used the standard template. Demanded surrender in 7 days, threatened total destruction, the usual stuff." "Good," Janet said. "Make sure you file it under hostile communications, multi-species, standard, format." The review board meets next month. The war declaration continued its journey through the government. It went to the Department of Interstellar Affairs, which sent it to the Alien Relations Committee. The committee scheduled a hearing for the following month, right after they finished reviewing trade disputes with the Rigellian Mining Consortium. Nobody seemed worried. Nobody called emergency meetings. Nobody even marked it as urgent. Captain Roy Davis was still running his deep space monitoring station on the far side of the moon. His job was to watch for alien activity and report anything unusual. For the past 3 weeks, he had been watching the Galactic Council's fleets gathering at the edge of the solar system. Roy sipped his coffee and counted the alien ships on his screen. 12 different fleets, maybe 3,000 ships total. It was impressive, he had to admit. The aliens had brought everything they had. "Hey, Linda," he called to his communications officer. "You seeing this build-up near Jupiter?" Linda Martinez looked at her screens. She was Roy's age, 30-something, and had been tracking alien movements for 8 years. "Yeah, looks like they're staging for something big. Should I file a report?" Roy thought about it for a moment. "Sure, mark it as unusual fleet activity. Standard priority should be fine." Linda typed up the report and sent it through channels. It would reach Earth Command in a few days, where someone would read it, file it, and add it to the monthly summary of alien activities. Neither Roy nor Linda seemed concerned about the massive alien war fleet gathering just outside their solar system. It was unusual, yes, but not particularly interesting. They had seen alien fleets before. Most of them eventually went away on their own. Back on the Galactic Council flagship, Ambassador Zektar was getting desperate. He called another meeting with all the alien leaders. The mood in the room was very different from 3 weeks ago. Instead of anger and confidence, there was confusion and worry. "Something is wrong," announced Commander Thixel of the Hive Mind. "The humans should have responded by now. They should be begging for mercy or preparing for war. Maybe they are, planning to surrender. suggested General Vordash, though he did not sound convinced. Ambassador Silnara's colors shifted to dark red, which meant frustration. I have reviewed our intelligence reports. Human behavior has not changed at all since we declared war. They are acting like we do not exist. The meeting went on for hours, but nobody had answers. The aliens had expected fear, panic, surrender, or at least some kind of response. Instead, they got nothing but polite acknowledgement and bureaucratic processing. For the first time in galactic history, a war declaration had been ignored, not rejected, not defied, just filed away like any other piece of mail. The Galactic Council was beginning to realize that maybe, just maybe, they did not understand humans as well as they thought they did. The Galactic Council's war fleet finally moved into the solar system. 3,000 ships from 12 different civilizations formed battle lines near the orbit of Mars. Commander Veltok of the Zephyrian fleet led the first wave. His people looked like tall blue lizards with silver scales that reflected light like mirrors. Veltok expected to find Earth's space filled with military ships. He thought human colonies would be dark and empty, with everyone hiding underground. He imagined desperate radio messages begging for mercy. Instead, he found something much stranger. Space around Earth looked completely normal. Cargo ships moved between planets like nothing had happened. Mining operations continued on asteroids. A cruise ship full of human tourists was heading toward the moon, playing loud music that the aliens could hear on their radio channels. This makes no sense, Veltok told his second-in-command, a younger Zephyrian named Kessera. Where are their defenses? Kessera checked her sensors. Sir, I detect several human military ships, but they appear to be following regular patrol routes. No emergency formations. No battle preparations. Veltok decided to send the standard surrender demand. He opened a communication channel to Earth and broadcast on all frequencies. His voice was strong and commanding, the kind of voice that had made entire civilizations surrender without a fight. Attention, humans of Earth, he announced. This is Commander Veltok of the Galactic Council Warfleet. You are surrounded. Your planet is defenseless. Surrender immediately or face total destruction. He waited for the response, maybe screaming, maybe begging, maybe a quick surrender. Instead, he heard cheerful music and a pleasant voice. Thank you for calling Earth Traffic Control, the voice said. Your call is important to us. Please hold while we connect you to the next available operator. Veltok stared at his communication screen. Soft jazz music played while he waited. After 2 minutes, a human voice came on the line. Hi there, this is Mike at Mars Traffic Control. How can I help you today? We are the Galactic Council War Fleet, Veltok said slowly. We demand your immediate surrender. Oh, okay, Mike said. He sounded like he was eating something. Let me transfer you to the right department. Earth Defense handles that kind of thing. Please hold. More music played. Veltok looked at his crew. They all had the same confused expression. After 5 minutes, another human voice came on the line. Defense Department, this is Colonel Peter Johnson. What can I do for you? Veltok tried again. We are here to accept your surrender. Your planet is surrounded by the combined military might of 12 civilizations. Right, Colonel Johnson said. I got the memo about that. Listen, I'm going to need you to fill out some forms first. We can't just accept random surrender offers without proper paperwork. Paperwork? Veltok's voice cracked. Standard procedure, the colonel explained. Declaration of hostile intent, rules of engagement, civilian safety protocols, that sort of thing. I can email you the forms. What's your address? The conversation continued for another hour. Colonel Johnson was very polite and very helpful. He explained that wars required proper documentation. There were environmental impact studies to consider, insurance forms to file, safety inspections to schedule. You have to understand, Johnson said. We can't just let anyone blow up our planet. There are regulations, permits, reviews by multiple committees. Veltok felt like his brain was melting. We have enough firepower to destroy your entire world. I'm sure you do, Johnson agreed. But first we need to verify your credentials. Are you licensed for planetary destruction in this star system? Do you have proper authorization from your home governments? Are your weapons inspected and certified? Earth Colonel Johnson was having a perfectly normal day. He was 52 years old, had been in the military for 30 years, and had handled alien contacts many times before. The coffee in his mug was still warm, and his secretary had brought him a donut. His assistant, Lieutenant Sarah Davis, sat at a desk nearby. She was typing forms into her computer and occasionally looking up at the video screen showing the alien fleet. "Sir," she said, "should we be worried about those ships?" Johnson glanced at the screen. "Nah, they'll figure it out eventually. Most of them do." "Most of them?" "Oh yeah, we get these war declarations all the time. Usually takes a few weeks to sort through the paperwork, sometimes longer if they don't have the right permits." Lieutenant Davis had only been working for Johnson for 6 months. This was her first war declaration. "What happens if they don't want to wait for the paperwork?" Johnson shrugged. "Then they get in line with everyone else, can't have aliens just attacking whenever they feel like it. There's an order to these things." Meanwhile, more alien fleets were arriving in the solar system. Word had spread through the Galactic Council that something strange was happening with the humans. Admiral Zexran of the Crimson Armada brought his entire fleet to see what was going on. Space around Earth was getting crowded. Alien ships from 12 different civilizations mixed with human cargo vessels, tourist ships, and mail carriers. It looked like the galaxy's strangest traffic jam. A human cargo ship captain named Bob Anderson was hauling steel to the lunar colonies when he found himself surrounded by alien warships. He called traffic control to report the unusual situation. "Yeah, I've got about 50 alien ships blocking the shipping lane to the moon," he reported. "Big ones, lots of weapons. They're kind of in the way." "Copy that, Bob," came the reply from traffic control. "We'll send someone out to direct traffic. Try to go around them for now." Bob steered his ship between 2 massive alien destroyers. One of them was shaped like a giant metal spider. The other looked like a floating crystal cathedral. Both were covered in weapon ports that could have vaporized his ship instantly. "Weird-looking ships," Bob muttered to himself. "Wonder where they're from." He turned on his radio and found a music station. Classic rock played while he navigated through the alien fleet, like they were just another space traffic problem. Back on the Galactic Council flagship, Ambassador Zektar was having what humans would call a nervous breakdown. His forearms waved wildly as he paced around his command center. "They're treating us like a minor inconvenience," he screamed. "We came here to conquer them, and they're asking us to fill out forms." General Vordash clicked his metal claws against the floor. "Perhaps we should just attack, show them we're serious." "And then what?" Zektar demanded. "They'll probably ask us for an environmental impact report about the destruction. They'll want to know if we recycled the debris properly." Commander Thixel's multiple eyes blinked in confusion. "I have studied human military doctrine for years. This is not how they're supposed to react. They should be afraid." Ambassador Silnara's crystal form flickered with frustrated colors. "Maybe fear is not the right word. Maybe they simply do not understand what we are." The aliens were beginning to realize that they had made a fundamental mistake. They had assumed that humans would react like other species. They had expected panic, surrender, or desperate resistance. They had not expected to be treated like just another bureaucratic problem, requiring proper processing through established channels. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Galactic Council was completely out of their depth. They had brought overwhelming military force to a bureaucratic fight, and they were losing badly. 2 months had passed since the Galactic Council declared war on humanity. The space around Earth looked like the galaxy's biggest parking lot. Alien ships from 12 civilizations floated in organized groups, waiting for something to happen. Some crews had started playing card games to pass the time. Others had begun trading supplies with each other. The humans had finally scheduled a meeting to discuss the war declaration. A young diplomat named Sam Miller was chosen to handle the situation. He was 28 years old, fresh out of diplomatic school, and this was his first major assignment. He carried a leather briefcase and wore his best blue tie. Sam took a shuttle up to the Galactic Council flagship. The alien ship was enormous, bigger than most cities. It was shaped like a black pyramid with glowing purple lights along the edges. Guards met him at the airlock and escorted him through long corridors filled with strange alien art. The meeting room was impressive. The ceiling was 50 feet high, and the walls showed holographic images of conquered worlds. 12 alien leaders sat around a curved table that seemed to be made of solid gold. Each alien looked different and scary in their own way. Ambassador Zektar stood up when Sam entered. His forearms gestured dramatically, and his gray skin had turned darker with anger. "Finally," he said, "the humans send someone to discuss surrender terms." Sam sat down at the table and opened his briefcase. He pulled out a stack of papers and a tablet computer. "Actually, I'm here to discuss your war declaration application. There are some problems we need to work out." The aliens looked at each other. General Vordash leaned forward, his red metal claws scraping against the table. "Problems? What kind of problems?" Sam put on his reading glasses and looked at his notes. "Well, first, your declaration lacks proper signatures from authorized representatives. According to our records, Ambassador Zektar doesn't have the legal authority to declare war on behalf of the entire Vorthan Empire." "What?" Zektar's voice rose to a shriek. "I am the official ambassador of my people." "Yes, but war declarations require approval from your planetary council," Sam explained. "I have the forms right here if you want to fill them out. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks to process." Commander Thixel spoke up. His voice sounded like metal grinding against metal. "This is ridiculous. We have 3,000 warships surrounding your planet." Sam nodded politely. "I can see that from the traffic reports. Which brings up another issue. You haven't filed flight plans for all those ships. Earth Space Traffic Control is very concerned about collision hazards." Ambassador Silnara's crystal form flickered with confused colors. "Flight plans? Standard procedure for any fleet movement in the solar system," Sam said. "We need to know who's going where and when. Safety regulations, you understand. I have the forms for that too." The meeting continued for 3 hours. Sam went through his checklist item by item. The aliens had not specified which rules of war they wanted to follow. Their environmental impact statement was incomplete. They had not provided insurance certificates for their weapons. They had not submitted crew medical records for quarantine purposes. But most importantly, Sam said, flipping to the last page of his notes, "You're going to need to take a number." The room went completely silent. All 12 alien leaders stared at the young diplomat. "Take a number?" General Vordash asked weakly. Sam nodded and pulled out a small device that looked like the number dispensers at a busy deli. "Currently, you're number 47 in line for active military conflict with humanity." The silence stretched on for a full minute. Finally, Ambassador Zektar found his voice. 47? "That's right," Sam said cheerfully. "The Rigelian Mining Consortium declared war last month. They're number 46. Before them, we had the Centauri Pirates, the Omega Trade Alliance, and about 40 other groups. It's been a busy year." Commander Veltok, who had been quiet during most of the meeting, finally spoke up. "How many species are currently at war with humanity?" Sam checked his tablet. "Active conflicts? 63 as of this morning. We have another 112 on the waiting list. Then there's about 200 more in various stages of diplomatic resolution." The aliens exchanged glances. None of them had expected this answer. "You mean," Silnara said slowly, "that 63 different species have declared war on you?" "Oh, it changes all the time," Sam replied. "Some groups give up and go home. Others get tired of waiting and settle out of court. We had one species that declared war on us 17 times before they finally decided to become a trading partner instead." Admiral Zexran of the Crimson Armada had been listening to the conversation with growing horror. "What happens to the species that wait in line?" Sam smiled. "We assign them to parking orbits and give them visitor badges. Most conflicts get resolved through our standard diplomatic process. Takes about 18 months on average." 18 months? Zektar's voice cracked. "Could be longer if there are complications," Sam admitted. "The Andromedan Empire has been waiting for 3 years now. They're still arguing with our legal department about territorial boundaries." General Vordash slammed his metal fist on the table. This is insane. We came here to conquer you. I understand that, Sam said sympathetically. But we have procedures to follow. You can't just show up and start a war without proper documentation. What if everyone did that? It would be chaos. The meeting ended with Sam handing out visitor badges to all 12 alien leaders. Each badge had a number and a QR code that they could scan to check their place in line. He also gave them a welcome packet with information about local restaurants, tourist attractions, and duty-free shopping. The parking orbit assignments are in your packets, Sam explained. Orbit 47B is reserved for your fleet. Please stay within the designated boundaries. There's a human cargo ship that makes supply runs twice a week if you need anything. As Sam prepared to leave, Ambassador Zektar grabbed his arm with one of his 4 hands. Wait, how did humanity survive so many wars? Sam looked puzzled. Survive? Most of these groups never actually fight. They just declare war, get frustrated with the paperwork, and eventually give up. It's really quite peaceful once you get used to it. But surely some of them must have attacked, Silnara insisted. Oh. Occasionally, Sam said, but attacking a planet requires even more paperwork than declaring war. Environmental permits, safety inspections, civilian evacuation procedures. Most species decide it's not worth the trouble. The young diplomat left the alien flagship with a wave and a smile. Behind him, 12 of the galaxy's most feared military leaders sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just learned. The Galactic Council had come to Earth expecting to find a weak species ripe for conquest. Instead, they had discovered that humanity had turned warfare into a bureaucratic process, so complex and tedious that most enemies simply gave up and went home. Their mighty war fleet was now parked in Orbit 47B, waiting their turn like customers, at the galaxy's most unusual government office. And just like everyone else in line, they were slowly beginning to realize that declaring war on humanity was a lot easier than actually fighting them.